I begin after the reinstallation of the heat bed stop from the previous chapter, after I reprinted my modified version that has heat inserts, because one of the heat inserts had come free. Then, on to Chapter 6, the extruder assembly. Welcome to Barrett Works. I'm going to call Chapter 6 a small fiddly chapter, where we work on assembling the extruder in all of its slight subtleties and attaching it to the printer. I'd recommend paying particular attention to the comments in the Prusa instructions. There are a whole set of, again, kind of smaller suggestions there, slight adjustments to the process that are helpful. Things like assembling the idler level with the pins in place first and then sliding the bearings into place. Or Mr. Bunky 13's suggestion for an alternative process for the PG ring assembly. Or the suggestion to slightly untwist the hot end cable fan cables when you push them into the hot end cable clip. Suggestions about getting the measurements when you're trapping the main cable, the offset measurements correctly. Carlos Ax or Patronix comments on step 636 about doing that. Making sure the cable clip for the main cable bundle in the back right corner of the printer is flipped the correct way around so the head of the screw is recessed. Otherwise, the screw they suggest won't be long enough. So a whole set of small comments like that. It's worth working through the comments before you begin and then just making these adjustments as you go. Other than the heat bed stop with the heat inserts, which is actually from the previous chapter, the only modified part I installed in this chapter was the Bowden tube bend piece. I used a print called Prusa Core One Easy Bowden Release plus Longer Tube by Secobar from Printables. And there are two benefits to that. One is the longer tube, and we'll just take that at face value as being potentially useful, a longer curve, spreading that bend out over a longer radius. But the other that I was really attracted to and has proven to be very useful is the second part, the piece that he designed that is a collar with a flange around it that makes it easy to trigger the mechanical release on the top of the PTFE tube fitting that's on the top of the extruder. When you want to remove the Bowden bend, the Bowden tube, and get at the filament where it goes straight in to the extruder, perhaps in order to feed TPU directly in, not feed it through the Bowden tube, this allows you to get your fingers on indirectly onto the release on the top of the PTFE fitting. Without that, you've got to slide the Bowden bend piece out of the way and then get your fingers in there. It's a very good modification. I recommend it. I'm about ready to string the main cable bundle from the swing arm out to the extruder. As you do this, pay attention to the comments and the Prusa instructions and the comments to test the full range of motion of the extruder and the gantry to make sure that the cable, as you've bound it to the swing arm, works properly and allows the extruder to reach the full extent of travel that it should have. I didn't have any problem with that, but it is worth double checking it and making sure. After getting the main cable bundle and the Bowden tubes attached to the swing arm and run out to the extruder, we then are going to install the fan before we're going to move on to installing the hot end itself, the heater block, nozzle, thermistor, heater that come already packaged and assembled in the kit, and do some more of the very short distance wiring that's involved in the hot end. One comment about the hot end and its wiring on the Core One as different from the XL. In the XL, once you open the cover, you've got clear access to the heater cable and thermistor cable. And when I switch nozzles in the XL, I almost always fully remove the whole hot end heater block, thermistor, hot end cable structure and swap in a replacement rather than unscrewing the nozzle. On the Core One, I'm not so sure I'm going to do that. I haven't been doing a lot of nozzle swaps in the first 3 months of using the machine, so I haven't fully decided. But those cables on the Core One are more trapped. I am less inclined to free them and remove them every time I want to swap a nozzle. And then we finish out the chapter once again at the back of the printer, connecting wires into the main circuit board, which is at this point getting rather crowded. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, and join me for the next chapter, Bodywork and Electronics, Chapter 7, where it will begin to finally look like a finished printer with the upper framework going into place along with other bits and pieces.